On March 1st, a 13-year-old girl from Dallas left home saying she was going to meet up with a 13-year-old boy, but she never came home. Her family has been searching for her frantically for the last 2 weeks. Today, she was found in a locked shed in North Carolina, and an arrest has been made. We'll tell you how it happened. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver. I'm here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody. You're back.
I'm back. Yeah, look who's back. Back again.
Mhm.
And thank you for holding down the fort. I have been gone for a
Bet.
week.
Right?
Well, I haven't been
A
gone from
long
the
time.
channel for a week, but I've been gone for a week. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Feels good to be home. We were traveling for softball, and it was awesome. Man, the girls did well. They played
Oh,
11 games, and they won 10 of them. So you can't ask for better than that. Well, I
no,
mean,
you can't. Wow. That's
11, but
fantastic.
they played really well. It was a lot of fun. We were in Tucson. We got lots of sun. We ate a lot of Mexican food, which is, fantastic in those parts, and
Mm-hmm.
did some fun shopping. We came home through Navajo Nation and stopped and bought jewelry from a few roadside sellers that were amazing, and
Oh, fun.
got to hear a bunch of cool stuff about the road runners that run around there. And what
Oh,
can I
did you?
say? I mean, we just had a great trip, but it's always good to
Sounds
be
awesome.
home. 7 days away from my dogs is a lot for me, really
Yeah.
a lot. So glad to be home to my boys and my bed. My God, we had the cutest Airbnb. Yeah, we didn't know how cute it was till we got there. The backyard was amazing. It was
Oh,
so
really?
cute that we were able to host all of the girls and their parents for dinner one night, and then the girls alone the next night, because we had this darling backyard that was all like desert landscaped. There was no grass,
Mm-hmm.
but there was like cute little like features with like little flower beds full of different kinds of cactus with that were uplit, and ah, it was awesome. Anyway,
That's cool.
yeah, so it was good, but I am very glad to be back because we got to go to court.
Yes, we do.
Daybell. Well, is it Daybell or just Valo? I guess it's just
It's
Valo,
just
probably.
Vallow.
Valo Court on Wednesday in preparation for the trial that is starting in
Yes,
two
I had said
days.
Thursday. I was wrong. It's Wednesday.
Well, it's been Thursday all along, so
Yeah, they've switched their day.
switched it all. It's only
Yeah.
Valo now. It's on Wednesdays now. What next? It's all sealed. Probably that.
Yeah,
It's not.
probably.
Not so far, but it's getting pretty close to the time that he's not going to really be able to seal anything else. So,
Yeah, hopefully.
what do we know? Yeah, we'll see. Well, thank you very much for holding down the fort while I was gone. I
You
appreciate you a
bet.
lot. And
You
this
had a
is
good time.
Tuesday. This is our Tuesday episode. So, we've got a bunch here. So, Kristi, I'm going to kick the mic over to you and let you start us off with some Idaho.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Idaho.
I feel like lately every day could just be
Oh, Idaho.
Idaho.
Well, I learned something recently that I didn't know. And that is that in Boise, which is the capital of Idaho, there is a prison facility. It is called Idaho Maximum Security Institution. This is our it's our maximum security prison. So this is where a lot of inmates that are can't be housed safely in regular prisons are. So
Mhm.
the unruly ones, the ones that get in trouble, the ones that hurt each other, that kind of thing. What I didn't know is that there are 9 cells in this institution for dangerously mentally ill men.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you would think that that means that it is for men who have been uh, charged and convicted with a crime.
Right, because one would assume that people in prison would legally be there.
Right. Turns out, no. They can house people who have not been convicted of absolutely anything. Our local news ran a story about a man named Ben. He is in his 30s. He has a severe mental illness, and because Idaho has no other place to safely house him, he has been in and out of a prison cell in this facility since 2017. Ben has never been convicted of a crime or sentenced to prison, but he's being housed in prison.
That's
Inmates,
horrifying to me.
right.
That's
And they're
really
treated just like,
scary to me.
yeah, this is horrifying, okay? So they're treated like inmates. They're not
Yeah.
treated like patients. They're not given mental health treatment. They're not
No.
really, it's just housing them.
Right.
Apparently, these beds are usually full, but the stay is 4 to 6 months on average. So people come here for some time to get things straightened out and then they go to a less restrictive place. Like we have state
Yeah.
hospitals where people can go as well. And, if this is just, something that a person needs to be settled down for a while. But and this is also a place where some people go when they need treatment to be found competent to stand trial. This is
Mm-hmm.
another place that they can go. There is another bed like this for women that is at the women's prison here near where we live.
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't know is that Idaho has been placing people under involuntary mental health commitments
Mm-hmm.
in this prison because the state hospitals say in this person's individual situation, the state hospital said that they can't be housed in a state hospital. So they put him in prison for not committing a crime. And this is really, really concerning.
I mean, there's a story in the article about him getting in trouble, so now he doesn't get his daily cup of coffee.
Right. It's just more and more restrictions.
Yeah.
He's not getting better, he's getting worse. He's been
Right.
there 21 out of the last 28 months. He's from
Mm.
northern Idaho. When he's stable, he lives with his mom, and
Mm-hmm.
his mom is really concerned about this situation and has been, communicating with the Department of Corrections and with the governor's office. So what's happened now is that Governor Little has asked the Idaho legislature to fund a project there. What they want to do is they want to build a second building on this same property that is a secure hospital environment, not a
Mm-hmm.
prison, but a more secure hospital environment for people like Ben to actually
Mm-hmm.
receive real treatment in a
Mm-hmm.
non-prison setting.
Right.
So we are waiting
As
to,
they should.
right, as should have always been happening all along and not this bullshit.
But Idaho has a horrible track record with mental health.
Right,
Horrible.
terrible. And I mean, I can't even fathom the number of civil rights being violated in this situation with Ben.
Oh,
And
there
of
was a
course,
statement from one of the doctors, from
oh,
the
it's Ben's doctor.
Ben's doctor, that's like, I am well aware of Ben's situation.
Yeah. Oh no, that right, right. But then Ben's psychiatrist, private psychiatrist, is absolutely
Right.
horrified by this.
Well,
So
as well they should be. This is wrong.
right, it's horribly wrong. So they're trying to get it into the budget to go before the legislature. This has not been approved yet. It's just proposed,
Mm-hmm.
but that they would build a building on this property that would house people in a more hospital-like way, treat them like patients, not like inmates.
Right, a more therapeutic setting. I mean, that's what they need.
Right, right, because Ben was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder about 20 years ago. His illness kicked in around the time that he was starting college. And the problem for Ben is that he's medication resistant. And there are people who antipsychotics don't work for them. He's had a lot of really bad results with meds. Um, when he is psychotic, if he sees anybody that looks like a policeman, he gets really, really afraid. So, put him in prison with prison
Right.
guards in uniform.
Yes, his own personal hell. Great.
Yeah, yeah. His mom is just terrified that he will die in a prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
But he does get worse and become more aggressive when he is in this facility because he is surrounded by correctional officers and it just feeds into his psychosis.
Oh, and also he's being treated like a prisoner.
Yeah, he is. Um, let's see. So his psychiatrist, Ben's psychiatrist says, I must reiterate, and I have done so by phone several times to Health and Welfare, that this is an inappropriate place for this patient to be treated because it lacks the level of care that he requires. And this was his psychiatrist at the prison.
Mm-hmm.
He says, although it is more secure than the state hospital, this patient requires more intensive treatment than is available here, as in anywhere in the state of Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
At the time that the psychiatrist was making this statement, he said that Ben had arrived at the prison believing, among other things, that he had been kidnapped and sent to prison illegally.
Yeah.
Well, that's not psychosis. That's actually what happened.
If that's my thoughts too. I thought, well, that's
Like,
just reality. Yeah.
the psychiatrist says that, she uses her first name and his first name and tries to make it not seem like prison, but it's prison. He's in a cell.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see what happens, but Idaho says that they're about to make this right. Makes me sick to think that it's taken this long. And
How
I don't,
many other people have lived and died in those 9 cells?
right, right. So we're going to keep a close eye on this because, I mean, I knew that we have units like this in our state hospitals, but I did not know that Idaho actually felt it was appropriate to house mentally ill people who have not been convicted of any crime nor sentenced to prison in prison cells. This is disgusting.
I mean, excuse my naivety, but I didn't even know they could do that.
Well, there's a real question around how is this legal? What kind of civil rights violations do we have going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So supposedly the governor is trying to get this new facility built. He's asked for $24 million out of the budget. I will tell you that Idaho has a huge surplus. There is not one reason on the planet of Earth that we couldn't afford to do this because our surplus was like over $1 billion right now.
Mm.
So why don't we do something better for
Something
people
good.
in Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll keep you updated and keep an eye on this. And with that, Katie, I'm
Good.
going to kick the mic back to you for our main case.
Okay. Well, this is quite the case, and I'm going to refrain from using the victim's name because she's only 13 and
Oh.
she's been found alive and was returned to her family for some after the ordeal she's had. But
Mhm.
however, her name has been in the news in the Texas area because she's been missing since
Right.
the 1st of March. So on the 1st of March, she left home with her laptop and some of her stuff. And some reports are saying that she thought she was going to meet a 13-year-old boy. And she never came home.
Mm.
And her family was frantic and they called the
Yeah.
police. And the police initially reported her as a runaway. I know. That seems to be the.
She's 13,
Mhm.
for hell's sakes.
But after going through her socials, they discovered that no, she had been kidnapped. Not by a 13-year-old, but by a 34-year-old.
Mm.
She's a gamer, and she had been chatting on Discord with a man that she thought was a boy. And she'd been chatting with him. It looked like, from accounts that are coming out now, a few months. He'd been grooming her for a few months. Want to be very clear here, he was in no way a drag queen. But
Nope.
he'd been grooming her for months and had been using that kind of language and behavior to keep, gaining more and more trust and more ground with her. And he set up a meet with her. So now, for the last 13 days, she has been missing, and her family has frantically been hanging up posters all over the city, posting on social media, talking to anybody who would listen. Luckily, the police didn't just write her off as a runaway, as often happens. They did
Oh my goodness.
go through her socials. They went through her Discord and discovered this person, and were able to discover who he was with the help of the FBI, and discover what kind of car he drives. And from all of that data, they were able to track him back to this shed in North Carolina,
Oh God.
1,000 miles from home.
Oh my hell.
It was on this property here. The homeowner was interviewed by the news this afternoon. She's absolutely dumbfounded. She had no idea there was a child in there. She's been letting him live in that shed for the last 2 years because he was homeless and had nowhere to go.
Oh dear.
But they found her locked in the shed, and that's where he's been living as well. Thank God she's alive
Yeah.
and as okay as one can be, I guess, in this kind of situation.
I guess. Yeah.
So he, of course, has all kinds of charges. His name is Jorge Camacho, and he is arrested on child abduction, felonious restraint, statutory rape, and other charges. Uh, and she's headed home. Thank God. It's a happy ending that we very rarely get to report on.
Yeah. It's true. That's amazing that she's still alive. That she survived that long.
Hmm.
The travel.
Hmm. One of the terms that the sheriff used was sexual servitude.
Oh God.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is she the
Uh,
first child to be housed in that shed?
that's a damn good question. That was one of the questions I had too. We don't know. He's lived there for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and has he done this before? But it got me thinking about Discord, because Discord is a very different app.
Mm-hmm.
And Kristi, you and I both have a little experience with Discord, but Discord is very different than what you've used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't understand Discord. Discord kind of started for the gamers.
Right. Yeah. Initially, that it was really just used for gamers to
Hmm.
communicate.
And then it's gotten more popular for other platforms. It's actually an awesome social media platform in a lot of ways. However, a lot of parents, I suspect, don't have a Discord, don't really understand Discord.
Yeah.
And so I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about what Discord is, since it is a platform that is being used primarily for and by gamers and obviously groomers and kidnappers, just like every other
Mm-hmm.
social media platform there is out there. We've talked about Snapchat. We have, everyone else has, into complete exhaustion. But Discord's one that you may not have heard very much about.
Mm-hmm.
So I this is a po- it's a this is a site, and I'm going to post it in our show notes, from commonsensemedia.org,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a parent's ultimate guide to Discord. So I thought I'd share a few things with you about Discord to help you understand it a little bit. It's a free app for mobile and PC. It helps people. You can chat, voice, you know, voice or video in real time.
Yep.
So lots of easy ways to talk. It's kind of like a combo of Skype and Reddit kind of discussion boards.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Except, yeah, yeah, but you have to be admitted into these. into various, people call it their Discord server, and
Yeah.
you have to be admitted, you have to be invited and get a link
Yeah.
to join.
Mm. Yes. There are no parental controls on Discord.
And it's so anonymous. Your
Mhm.
avatar is not your face.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
username is not your name. Like, it's very
Mhm.
anonymous.
It's very anonymous. Yep. Discord can be super safe because it's so anonymous. Unless we have creepers on there that are convincing us that they are someone that they're not,
Right.
because you would have no way of knowing.
Hmm.
So that's one upside and downside, really. You're supposed to be 13 to use Discord, but they don't actually verify age on sign up. So,
No, it's just self-report.
yeah, it's a self report, like a lot of them are.
Hmm.
So, they do have NSFW channels that require users to be 18 or older. But again, it's just self report. So,
Hmm.
it's not super safe in that sense. And with no parental controls, that really kind of lowers the safety of it. There are privacy settings. And so, if you, as a parent, are helping your kids set up a Discord, you can set up privacy and some safety settings, such as safe direct messaging, which means that that feature can actually automatically scan and delete direct messages that contain explicit content.
Hmm.
Interesting. It's
Hmm.
not foolproof, but you know,
Hmm.
for all the girls out there that are real sick of dick pics and things like that,
Yeah.
it's supposed to help scan and get rid of those kinds of things. So that's something that you could help your child set up, or you can set up for yourself. But that only works on direct messaging.
Hmm.
You can also protect your own data in their user settings. So there's a few privacy settings that I think are helpful. Again, there are no parental controls. You can share images and video on Discord, and that's pretty much what it's about. If your kid has Discord, you have Discord.
Hmm.
The thing that I have found the most with parents, and not calling out this girl's parents, I don't know, so I'm not discussing them specifically, but the thing I have seen with a lot of parents who are struggling with their kids' behavior online, or their kids' experiences online, is that they don't understand what they're doing. They don't
Hmm.
understand the apps that they're visiting. They don't understand the social media that they have. The rule of thumb should be, if they have it, you have it.
Hmm.
They have to
And
be
you
your
are
friend.
friends. Yeah.
They have to be your friend. You have to have their sign in information. You have to know what's going on with them. Because
Hmm.
unfortunately, the internet is an extremely dangerous place.
Yeah.
And I'm beyond relieved that we get to report today on a case where someone was found safe, especially a 13-year-old girl who's got her whole life in front of her, whose
Hmm.
family has lived in absolute terror for the last 13 days, wondering if she was
Hmm.
dead or alive.
I'm sure she lived in absolute terror too.
Absolutely. Can you imagine the hell she's been in?
No.
We don't get that very often.
No.
So I'm so relieved for her and for her family, but it's yet another reminder that the internet is not a safe place for anybody, but
No.
particularly for kids, for teenagers, particularly teenagers. One of the police officers, or one of the sheriffs in this case, said that he believes that flattery is the most addictive drug of all.
Oh. Oh
And
wow.
and I thought that was a damn good point. We all fall for flattery sometimes, but when we're talking
Mhm.
about teenagers that think that they know a lot more than they know, and we have
I know.
groomers online that are willing to tell them what they want to hear and flatter the hell out of them and make them feel special, scary shit happens like this. So be aware, learn what your kids are doing. You do it too. You be on the same sites that they're on. It's one way to help keep them safe, and always have conversations like this.
Yeah.
Like this.
Absolutely.
One article I read today was about teaching your kids how to be uh, self detectives,
Mm,
teaching your kids about true crime, teaching your kids about how these things happen online, and asking them to look for clues in people who contact them,
mm-hmm,
which I thought was actually pretty brilliant.
mm-hmm,
In that, hopefully, you're not just creating like paranoid kids, but maybe a little bit, but kids that go,
mm-hmm,
hey, this person reached out to me and this is what they said. I think that might not be, this might not be who that person says they are, or I think this isn't okay. I thought
mm-hmm.
that was pretty brilliant
Yeah,
to
it
teach your
is.
kids to be self detectives, that then report back to you as the chief,
Mm,
to help decide if something is what it looks like it is. But those are a few thoughts about helping to keep your kids safe online. I know it's a daunting task. It's a daunting task for all of us, I think. But
mm-hmm.
anyway, thank God there was a win today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All righty. Well, I'm going to kick the mic back over to you for a true crime update.
Yes. You may remember this case. It happened back in 2017. This is Sayfullo Saipov. Sorry, I had it all great, and then I just screwed it all up. This happened on Halloween 2017, and Saipov was he drove a rented Home Depot truck on a bike path on the Hudson River in New
Oh,
York,
yeah.
and he killed 8 people and he injured
Oh.
many more. Well, he
Hmm.
was finally gone to trial and he was found guilty in at the end of January, and he was
Wow.
guilty on 28 counts, including 9 counts that carried the maximum sentence of death. I think he killed 9 people. Sorry, I said 8. So today, the so for not today, last week, his the jury. No, that's right. That's today. Okay, sorry. Anyway, his jury was debating on whether or not to give him the death penalty. So
Yeah.
it was interesting for a couple of reasons because now we know he has been convicted.
Hmm.
So it's a similar process to what happens in Idaho, like what we've been talking about with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, is that they will go through the guilt phase
Hmm.
and the penalty phase. So they've been in
Hmm.
the penalty phase for the last couple of days. And the jury came back to the judge and said, we cannot get to a unanimous vote on the death penalty. And of course, we know it has to be a unanimous vote
Yeah.
for the death penalty. I found this very interesting. So when they made that statement to the judge cannot just send them back and say, keep debating,
Hmm.
because that sends a message to the jury that he expects them to come to the decision on the death penalty, and that
Right.
for like people who are anti-death penalty, that's basically the judge is telling them, I want you to change your mind.
Yeah.
So then what he did was he made the decision and said, okay, because we can't get a unanimous
Yeah.
decision, then we're giving this offender life without the possibility of parole. So he has
Hmm.
9 life sentences plus a bunch of other stuff
Yeah. He's
for
never
what he
going
did.
anywhere.
No,
Yeah.
he's not. He's never going anywhere. And, you may remember we've talked about this quite a bit, because what happens in that penalty phase is you have mitigating factors. So these are factors that the defense will present that say, hey, maybe the death penalty isn't the right thing. And then you'll
Hmm.
have aggravating factors, and that's what the prosecution will bring forward. And I
Right.
guess the one thing that they couldn't quite get on board with was that he would be a risk to inmates.
Hmm.
Now, this was a terrorist attack, so this was a federal trial.
Right.
This was considered a terrorist attack. He was acting on behalf of ISIS when he did this,
Hmm.
and you know all of the horror that goes along with that.
Hmm.
But the jury couldn't agree that he would in fact be a risk to others in prison, because he's not going to be a risk to anyone else outside of prison because he's never
Right.
getting out. But they had to that was one of the things they had to prove.
Interesting.
Yeah, they had to prove intent. There were a bunch of things that they had to
Sure.
say the evidence proved, but one of the things was that he would be a continued risk to others in prison. And they didn't feel that they could say definitively that yes, he would be. I mean, will he or won't he? We don't know.
Right.
He's now cut off from.
I didn't know that was a part of. Is that just in that state, or is that typical? I
Well,
wonder.
it's that, yeah, it's in New York, so that was
Mhm.
one of the
Or I guess this
questions.
was federal, so maybe that
It
doesn't
was
matter,
well, it
but
was yeah, that's right, it's federal. But that was one of the questions that they had was, is it better to execute him, because if not, he's going to continue killing people in prison, and they couldn't
Mhm.
come, because I mean, he hit people with a vehicle.
Mhm.
He hit people specifically out of acting for a terrorist cell they can't have contact with anymore. I don't know. There were a lot of
Right.
things. So ultimately, they could not come to any kind of,
Mhm.
consensus that yes, that was the one, that he would in fact be at a risk.
Yeah.
We don't know how many people were against the death penalty versus for. The judge would not let them say.
Uh-huh.
The judge was very interesting in this case, the way that he handled it. He did not
Mhm.
want to create any bias anywhere, which I think,
Mhm.
yeah.
You got to be
Um,
careful about that.
so New York, they do have the death penalty in New York.
Mhm.
And of course, the federal death penalty was reinstated by Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Biden ran on an anti-death penalty platform, although I don't think there's been anybody executed, but I don't think that there's actually been a stay on the death penalty specifically
Mhm.
um, for Biden. New York
Yeah, I don't think
hasn't
so.
executed anybody since the 60s. New York, although they are a death penalty state, they don't really
Mhm.
like doing death penalty.
Mhm.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's a mixed reaction from people. I'm glad that he's finally, he's been in prison this whole time. It's not like he's been out there being a danger to anybody, but it's taken
No.
a really long time to get this case through the system.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is he's not going to hurt anybody anymore, but
No.
he will not be executed. He will just spend the rest of his life in prison.
Mhm. Interesting.
Yeah.
What a hard long journey for all of the families.
Oh, gosh. Right. And they of course um, gave victim impact statements during the penalty phase of the trial and everything. And that's got to be really hard because this was 6 years ago. And to think that this is just all drug back up for them in so many ways, that's
Yep.
tough.
Really tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you have it.
Mhm. That's
Okay.
what we know.
That's what we know. Well, this is Tuesday. We won't have a new episode initially on Wednesday because we're going to court Wednesday morning for Vallow, of course. So we'll be back Wednesday afternoon with a live stream and tell you all about it. We'll
Hmm.
also be back Wednesday night for case updates. So there'll actually
Hmm.
probably be, depending on how long court is, there should be two live streams on Wednesday. Case
Probably, yeah.
updates and, of course, the Vallow Belligerent Turn Circus Roundup.
Yes.
So both of those things coming. So, well, thanks you guys very much for being here. Of course, please go do something good for yourselves. You know you deserve
Hmm.
it. And as always, thank you for all of your support. Like, share, follow, comment. You know the ropes. Alrighty. Well, this has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad. Take care.
Bye, everybody.